So it's clear that Israel, with the help of the U.S., destroyed the infrastructure of Lebanon and Syria and made them helpless, is now beginning to do the scavenging part, in which it takes the southern borders of both of these countries. They say to demilitarize it, but I say it's a slow war of attrition against Lebanon and Syria, in which they want to take as much land as they can and make inroads, kind of the way Russia's making inroads into Ukraine. You can't take everything, but they want to take as much as they can to continue the project, the Zionist project of making Israel as expansive as possible, from Gaza to the sea, all the way to the borders of Syria and Lebanon, take as much as they can and try to encircle Iran and make it impotent. So this is Israel's continual war. And okay, so this November has been very bloody in Syria and Lebanon. Earlier on this month, I think on November 23rd, Israel struck Lebanon, killing one of the high leaders of Hezbollah. I think his last name is Tabatabai. They killed him, and they've been bombing Lebanon daily. Not a lot of deaths and casualties, but a lot of infrastructural destruction. And they say that they're targeting this area to neutralize Hezbollah. Then yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, they made a raid in southern Syria, a country which has a president which is even being good to the U.S. and Israel. And they killed 13 individuals, saying that they were coming after Lebanese terrorist Hezbollah guys who were planning to raid Israel. They killed people while they were in their sleep. And they said that they're doing this to go after Lebanese people. This comes about a year and more after, or less than a year after, Israel destabilized Lebanon with cell phone bombs and destroyed their infrastructure. And since then, Hezbollah has not retaliated and doesn't look like it can retaliate. Then they get rid of Assad and put in, well, the U.S. gets rid of Assad with the help of Israel and put in an anti-American terrorist who's now supposedly pro-American and who has no beef with Israel. So it's clear that Israel, having, with the help of the U.S., destroyed the infrastructure of Lebanon and Syria and made them helpless, is now beginning to do the scavenging part, in which it takes the southern borders of both of these countries. They say to demilitarize it, but I say it's a slow war of attrition against Lebanon and Syria, in which they want to take as much land as they can and make inroads, kind of the way Russia's making inroads into Ukraine. You can't take everything, but they want to take as much as they can to continue the project, the Zionist project of making Israel as expansive as possible, from Gaza to the sea, all the way to the borders of Syria and Lebanon, and even making incursions to take as much as they can, and then to encircle and try, because they know they can't invade Iran, but to encircle Iran and make it impotent. So this is Israel's continual war. And America will say that they're not involved in these incursions and strikes on Syria and Lebanon, but it's clear that they are, because Israel is America's sentinel in the Middle East. And I think, Kune, you mentioned this. If they could have their way, they would displace everybody in Syria and Lebanon also to make a bigger Israel and start exporting more people from Europe and America there, so that their goal would be that the Middle East would only have Saudi Arabia and UAE, which are friendly to America. Then the other areas like Iran, Syria, and Lebanon will be occupied by whites, so that this will be the new colony for the Western expansionist program of oppressive, racist settlement. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, before I even come back to the original question, that settlement, the last countries you mentioned are going to get taken down too. That's Saudi Arabia and UAE and Qatar, because these countries, everything is right. They're terrorist nations and they're extremists, they're authoritarian governments. They have every excuse to take them down. But before they take them down, they have to take down Lebanon, Syria, and the big one, Iran, before they get to them. But they will get to them, because the plan of Greater Israel is pretty much colonizing the entire Middle East in the way that the entire Americas were colonized, and then the red race reduced to little pockets of people that we just feel sorry for. And you already seen the French
Yeah,
doing
but
that
you're
there.
talking about the Monroe Doctrine. Sorry to cut in front of you. America
Yeah.
started off on the East Coast, Virginia, New York, all those areas, and they slowly expanded all the way to the West Coast, taking
into
everything from Mexico. So that's what
exactly.
their plan is to do. Yeah, that's their
Yeah,
plan.
and that's exactly the plan for the Middle East. So it could go on beyond our lifetimes, and we've already seen France doing its crocodile tears. These Western countries, I don't understand them. On one hand, they're arresting people for wearing burqas, and then they're arresting people for protesting, and then they now start saying, "Oh, we're not happy about what's going on." They're being insincere. They're playing games with their people because they know that what they're doing is deeply unpopular. And they know that anybody that supports Palestine will have a landslide victory, and anyone that doesn't will not. But because they control the strings of government, both in Western Europe and America, they know that they're trying to play this game where they, on one side, appear to be supporting the people, but really they're maintaining the strength for this neo-colonial ethno-state and its genocide, which is still ongoing and has gone underreported and unreported because of several distractions in the West regarding not only Ukraine. Trump has turned a particular murder. I don't know the facts of the murder. It's just the random killing,
Oh yeah, the murder.
but we don't know the facts of it.
Let's get
But
back to
because
track.
the
You're
person
talking about
was a Muslim Afghan, it's turned into something else that's going to affect hundreds of millions of people. One
yeah.
random crime. You can't do that. There's criminals in every single form of society.
Yeah.
You cannot just
But
say
let's get
because
back
a
to the
guy committed a
let's
crime
get back to focusing
that
on
he's a
Israel for the.
terrorist.
Yeah, I agree with you. So
Um, yeah,
the
sorry,
U.S. is doing
I
a lot of
don't know how
propaganda,
I deviated to that
a lot of
point.
propaganda on Arabic people all over the world. Oh yeah, an Arabic or Afghan person shot two National Guards, and now
Islamophobia is very powerful, and it's
yeah.
necessary because of what Israel is trying
So
to
so let's
do
look at what's
in,
going
in
on.
three
They
in
took
those three
Assad out.
countries.
They took Assad out of Syria because they claimed he was so horrible. They cared about the rights of the Syrians. We know that America
Yeah,
and Israel.
Syria has been complaining about the incursions. Israel took advantage of the
Yeah, but
civil
that's what
war.
I'm trying to make is what I'm trying to say is show you the pattern here. They took out Assad and then they put in a terrorist who came to visit Trump and came to visit the UN. The UN put in a terrorist. And as soon as they put him in, now they're making incursions to southern Syria. And this guy will do nothing about it. This shows you he's not the president of Syria. It already shows you that Syria is being run by America and it's not being run by Israel, but Israel is doing the bullying work now. So America puts in a terrorist. And now Syria is, I mean, Israel is, they've been doing it before, but they're stepping it up again with raids in Syria. And it works out perfectly because al-Sharaa won't do anything because he's actually working for the US and thereby working for Israel. So Israel's taking more and more Syrian land. I wonder when the people of Syria, al-Sharaa and them will tell America, if Israel moves one more foot, we're going to fight them. And how can he fight them? Because Syria's army was dissipated by rebels, by al-Sharaa himself. So al-Sharaa is a traitor to his country because he's handed them over on a platter to Israel. He's a traitor to Syria. Now let's go to Lebanon. Lebanon, unfortunately, they were weakened last year by Israel through the cell phone strikes and the bombings and stuff. So right, that country is not that they're helping Israel or the U.S., but they're kind of helpless a little bit. And now they're saying, "Oh, we're going after Hezbollah on the borders." We have to remember Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization, just like Hamas. It's actually a military, a militia which is supposed to be protecting Lebanon. They haven't attacked Israel. And so I don't understand why Israel continues making these inruns. The last time Israel and Hezbollah had a conflict, it was about 12 years ago. So we're not going to argue the moral grounds. We're just going to see what's happening. Israel is slowly pushing the envelope and making incursions. They're making the first, they haven't made an incursion into Syria, Lebanon, but by going to these border areas and causing problems, this is what I call a war of attrition. Even if they only take a kilometer of land, they're going to end up putting settlers there. So what we're seeing, like you said, is a settlement project that Israel is doing. And trust me, Jared Kushner, Trump, Westerners all over the world, they're all invested in this because they also are going to need this land because of the oil and gas and minerals that they have in this part of the world to try to keep up with BRICS, which is not going to work. What are your thoughts again, Kulan?
Yes, the last part is very important. BRICS. When it comes to these oil-rich countries, these countries in the Middle East and Africa that are trying to be ethno-colonized, Lebanon has suffered a lot of violations in the recent past because a lot of the incursions that Israel are doing are violations, and they just casually justify them by saying they're going after terrorists. They'll casually kill 100 people and say they almost killed one terrorist. I mean, there's no standard, there's no rules, there's no laws. They can just do whatever they want, and we pass it by. The mainstream media permits it. If something 1/10 as bad happens the other way, which is why we can now see why people are so disingenuous about crises. Anything that Western countries complain about just pales in significance of the hypocrisy of what is going on in Lebanon. People can see that Hezbollah are not the form of terrorist group that people perceive them to be. Because we perceive, there's this confusion and conflation that they use to confuse the minds of people because people can barely put most of these countries on the map, let alone a religion or a side. So when Israel says, oh, we're Jews, oh, we're Israelis, oh, that's anti-Semitic, it's confusing. When Lebanon says, oh, we're Muslims, oh, we're defending ourselves, oh, we're ISIS, or we're Al Qaeda. And to the average American, they can't tell any, or Western, they can't tell these things apart. So it's so easy to confuse and propagandize their minds
Yeah.
because they're not able to distinguish and actually understand what is going on. And what is going on is not about religion and all this other nonsense. It's all about the money. You always have to
Land and
follow the
resources.
money.
Land and resources. Yeah. And one more thing. So before we finish off, go back to what we said. See, they've already Saudi Arabia and the UAE more than just Saudi Arabia. The UAE has so many expatriates from around the world, from Europe, from America, who already live there. Okay, who come in there because they're trying to bring in skilled labor. Once I don't believe that Israel will actually ever take Syria or Iran or whatever. But let's just project that this is a long-term war in which they're trying to take all those people. Then they're going to want to take Saudi Arabia and UAE. They already have the infrastructure because those leaders of those countries deal with America anyway, and they'll be receptive to foreigners coming in there, and they will sign off all the oil and stuff they have. So they won't even have to kill the Saudi Arabians or the UAE people, but they will probably take out the leaders, guys like bin Salman, the prince of Saudi Arabia. He's still a little bit stubborn. They'll just kill him off and using the rebel groups, people like bin Laden's groups who are from Saudi Arabia, to take him out, and they'll just put in someone who directly represents America and the West in those countries without having to attack their populations. And they will slowly start to loot those countries until 100 or 150 years down the line, people who are Saudis or people who are UAE people will be underrepresented in their own country because there's so many foreigners who've already moved there. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've also explained the confusion and conflation. Remember, it was the Saudis that did 9/11, but the Iraqis were playing
Oh yeah.
for it. Because
Yeah,
they're all
yeah, yeah.
Muslims, they all
Saudi
look the
was
same
behind
age.
it, but we're
You
friends with Saudi.
believe before Allah, you say Hezbollah, Chuck, you're all the same age. Chuck.
Yeah.
And
If you
and
follow
that, that
if, if you follow the money trail for September 11th, it goes directly to the Saudi elite leaders. That's where the money can, and then the U.S. allows them to still go unpunished. Just goes to show you that the U.S. doesn't mind killing its own people so they can stay in bed
oh,
with the Saudis.
there was also some kind of team of Israelis that came to watch 9/11 events as it happened. And then there's also the conspiracy issue of how Tower 7 fell. But that's we're
Talk about that
digressing now.
another day.
There's
All
too
right,
many smokes and mirrors. I think
yeah.
whenever we discuss these issues of politics, a lot of it is because there's so much smokes and mirrors. We can only decipher as much as we can for what we can try to perceive
Yeah.
as being the
Well, let's put it
truth.
like this:
And
September 11th. Here's a big thing about September 11th. The U.S. knew that there was going to be a strike or planned strike, the CIA and the FBI, but because they didn't want to communicate with each other, they let it pass. They were even had people who were in those meetings. Either that's incompetence or it's letting it happen so that you can have a red flag, a false flag. I tend to believe all of it. September 11th was a false flag.
it
Okay,
was a false flag attack. But I mean, anybody
and
that says that looks ridiculous to say so.
even if it wasn't, they didn't go after Saudi Arabia. They didn't really go after. They went after Afghanistan because they said they were holding. But the real person they went after was Iraq, and Iraq had
And it
nothing
had
to
nothing
do.
to do with it.
Yeah, so that means that those people September 11th died for no reason, and American government just took that as an excuse to go after a country that they wanted to go after because of its oil. And as soon as they got all of its oil, you know what they did? They rerouted it and pumped it toward Israel, and then Cheney and George Bush for their families. They took the rest and sold it with Exxon. All right,
Yeah,
take us out.
because the average American can't tell the difference between an Iraqi and a Saudi Arabian and an
No, no, yeah.
Afghanistan. They can't tell the difference.
And this is why I don't like using the word Arabic because there's no Arabic is too broad a term. It's like saying African. There's too many ethnic groups in Africa. So when you look at people from Palestine, they don't look like Saudi Arabians. When you look at people from Yemen, they don't look like people from Syria. So I don't even use the word Arab. I use the word there's people from Iran who are sort of Persianish. Then you've got people from Syria who also have a sort of Persian. All of these people are different. Then there are certain people who look Afghani. Afghani is not the same as Arabic. But there's like so all those Arabs, Arabics. They even think that
Yeah.
Boko Haram are
I mean,
Arabs.
even black Ethiopians look different from black
Yeah.
Kenyans,
They
look
think that
different from black, you
Boko
know.
Haram are not Arabs. They're African Muslim extremists. Yeah. Anyway, take us out, Kunle. We've done a good one. So we're done for today, but we'll do F1 on Saturday. Okay.
So we're looking at the disturbing increase in violence by Israel again in the Middle East against Lebanon and Syria, whilst the media has downplayed the ongoing slaughter in Gaza.
Yep.
And
Keep it
we
in
pray
Gaza.
for the innocents that continue to be killed every day, and that justice will come one day. And we pray these boycotts increase so that we can bring our humanity back because it's all about the survival of the human race. And from myself and Mustafa, we bid you goodbye, farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Oh, what? Did you see the free practice?